in the wellness world, it's all about, okay, good vibrations.
Yeah.
And you want to surround yourself with people with similar vibrations and high vibrations. But the fact of the matter is, sometimes there are, you have to deal with all kinds of people at all different levels.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's, when you know that you're going into a situation, you just put your bubble on
with white light. Surround yourself with white light. So I want to introduce two people actually that Cara just did some work with recently, doing some Reiki sessions. Andrew and Rachael Switz, who are here, and they're wonderful, wonderful business owners. So Andrew and Rachael, welcome. It's great to see you tonight.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Happy to be here.
And the business is RopaNa Wellness. So tell us a little bit about yourselves. And you guys are high school sweethearts.
Yeah.
So
you started quite a long time ago. I think 15 years now, since the high school fateful day. But yeah,
there was a day.
A day, a night, all kinds of fun stuff. But yeah, now here we are, and we started RopaNa about 7 years ago, and it really started as a journey into wellness because Rachael was working at Dartmouth Hitchcock. In diagnostic genetics, and she was actually a medical cannabis patient at the time, and we had to find an alternative because working in that scenario, kind of like at the school, you can't use certain things even if they're legal. And so we found hemp and hemp supplements, and that's kind of what really put us into this whole new world of wellness. Before that, it was way more science driven, Rachael in the diagnostic genetics and myself in horticulture. So it was really driven by science, and it was wellness was on the back burner, going to college and stuff. It definitely was not on the forefront. So it was not until leaving college, starting our careers, that we realized, we have to start thinking more about wellness. The world definitely sneaks up on you pretty quick when you go out into the professional world. And hemp was really a lifesaver. I mean, you can say more about your experience with that, of how, it was a good alternative for you, and how it really
it changed everything for me. I was on a lot of different pharmaceuticals that I was left with a lot of symptoms. And I was 26 years old, and I could barely walk to my coffee break anymore, so I had to figure out something to relieve some pain and get some relief. And Drew found the hemp products for us, and since then it's completely changed our life. We've always been very passionate about serving other people. That's definitely been a driving factor for our brand since the beginning, but since we had such a success story, we really wanted to bring hemp to the rest of the world and share it with as many people as we could. So that's always been kind of the driving force behind our brand.
That's interesting that you worked in really traditional healthcare. I mean, that's, if you're at a hospital doing diagnostics. And so what was the spark that kind of led you to that realization that you got to try something different?
Honestly, one of the things about working at the hospital is you are so busy with work that sometimes, like Drew said, with college, health actually becomes the back burner for you. You're providing healthcare, but it's becomes the back burner for you.
Hear that from a lot of nurses.
Yeah. And it's hard work. It's stressful. So yeah, once Drew had actually started the business for quite a few months before me, and I kind of jumped ship on the hospital once I saw the success of that. And really, I was working behind the scenes with patients. I wasn't really working directly with patients. So that was another driving factor, is I kind of wanted to get out and work more face-to-face with people, and have a little bit more of a life than just being at the hospital all day.
It's one thing to be sort of even a seller, or provide a service, but then to actually have products, that's a big leap.
Yeah, that kind of started as a hobby, like, you know, a lot of great things. Growing up, I was always making different herbal preparations, and, you know, it just kind of led from one thing to another. We started out with like a topical, and when you're making like a topical salve, the easy way to start is just to use all different oils and butters because they're all compatible and they're not going to separate at all. Because it's really only when you start to add water that it becomes an issue. So, you know, we started with basic formulations like that, and just kind of experimented, and the feedback that we were getting from friends and family was fantastic. The results Rachael was getting were fantastic, and it just really felt like this moment, you know, where there is a lot of service that could be done for people without all of the red tape that like the traditional like medical route, you know, has to offer. So was able to help people with minimal, you know, regulations and things, which, you know, in one sense you could say that's bad because there's bad players that might take advantage of that.
Yeah.
But when you're coming from, you know, place like your heart and you're doing it for the right reason, it works out for a beneficial.
There are alternative ways to approach healing, and the traditional Western medicine, Cara,
Right.
is I mean, it's incredibly stringent, and we have the, you know, the FDA and all the medical oversight and that sort of thing. But yet, you know, for thousands of years, we had many alternative, what we now call alternative. Actually, for thousands of years, it wasn't the alternative,
Right.
and yet here we are. It's unregulated, so therefore you kind of have this Wild West-ish a little bit out there. So we're always dealing with this.
Yeah, all the time. And so I can't take a lot of pharmaceuticals. And so like I'm allergic to some things, and it's been, you know, it's tough. You have surgery. I can't take the pain meds like a lot of people can. And so I've always searched for alternatives. Same thing, you know, I just had that sinus infection that would not go away, even with the antibiotics, because I had to like break down and finally get the antibiotics because I'm like, nothing is getting rid of this.
That didn't work.
They didn't work. It was like, it went away for a little while. Then they came back, and then I just started taking oregano oil. Gone.
Oregano oil is like magic.
Yeah.
You sell oregano oil?
I use it a lot.
You use it a lot?
Yeah. Not yet. But, you know.
Yeah, we use it quite a bit.
Yep.
And Levette asks, when you use topical, do you get a buzz?
So the answer is no. So topicals typically stay above the transdermal layer of skin. So it's not a transdermal product where it's going to pass through into the bloodstream. So it's really just going to act on like skin, muscle and joints and any skin inflammations like that. But you're not going to get any relaxation effects that you would get from like an internal preparation.
Yeah. And I want to say, I'm just going to add to that because I'm super excited. Can you see this?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. So they brought me a gift.
Very nice.
And it couldn't have come at a better time because what did I do the minute we got back from the masquerade ball Saturday night?
You said your feet hurt.
Right. And I was digging cream, the little bit that's left in the container that I
You're like, oh, I gotta get some more of this
cream
stuff
on my feet. And so, yeah, it works. I mean, I was able to at least fall asleep because they weren't throbbing because we danced all night. And I was wearing heels.
So okay. So for some people, it's like, all right, well, I'm gonna take a few ibuprofen, you know, that sort of thing. So why does that's the CBD, right? So how does that work? What is reacting in your body or you know, that process? Why is that working for pain alleviation?
So there's actually a system in our body called the endocannabinoid system, and it actually wasn't taught in medical school until very recently. It was kind of omitted because it's directly connected to cannabis. And there's CB1 and CB2 receptors in our body. The CB2 are more responsible for interacting with that inflammation and pain,
Mhm.
and they're more widespread throughout our body. The CB1 is more in our spine and brain. And hemp products in particular are the ones that interact with CB2. And so that's why they're going to help with inflammation, pain, and also mood and different things like that.
And you guys mentioned psoriasis as well, because I do think a couple of our viewers had asked if we knew of anything that would help with psoriasis. And yes, they have a product that will help with psoriasis. So yes.
Yeah,
For sure.
And also, okay, so you two met Cara through Reiki. And so,
Actually through Jenna.
through Jenna. Oh,
Yeah.
yes. And many of our viewers know Jenna because we
Yeah.
do our Psychic Sunday, and that's Jenna is our favorite psychic.
Yes.
But yeah, so tell me about that a little bit. Well, who wants to start? That was pretty good, huh?
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, great experience.
Yeah. So Reiki 1 and then Reiki 2. And we did it over, I don't know, like a month, probably.
Yeah.
Like the first session, and then there were a couple weeks in between. And then we did the second session. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say highly recommend. We had a great experience, and it's actually pretty serendipitous. Something that we do with our products is kind of similar to Reiki. We didn't realize it as much until we, took the training. But basically we use mantras from like yoga and Sanskrit to bless our products and infuse it with intention and energy. And for those who know what Reiki is, it's essentially using intention and energy to heal and to infuse with positive energy. So we were essentially doing a form of Reiki before even having our formal training. So it's definitely, the step that was supposed to be on our journey for
Yeah.
sure.
Definitely.
I mean, you know what I like is the tests that people do that, like, for example, if you take 2 jars and what do they put it in, Carla?
So you can use white rice. Have you ever heard of this? It's amazing.
Because this is a really great example of how positive energy, negative energy actually impacts stuff. So, because people may be listening and say, oh, this Andrew guy is like, woo, oh, you
Reiki.
this, that, but like when it comes down to it, there is a real difference. And there are some experiments that you can do that actually make it measurable. There's a million things you could do that make it measurable.
Yeah.
But I like the rice one.
Yeah.
Because
really
it's so
see it.
obvious.
Yeah. So if you take 2 containers and you cook the white rice and you put it, in 2 separate containers, and you label one love and you label another one hate. And then to the one that's labeled love, you say good things, positive, I love you, you're beautiful, all the positive things. And then to the jar with the hate on it, you say awful things and mean things,
or even just neglect it.
Well, yeah. And over time, the jar with the hate label that you haven't taken care of and nurtured will get moldy, whereas the other one does not mold. And it's amazing. And we've like seen it time and time again. We were going to actually do it with the kids, but it's hard to get them corralled. Sometimes they're just like, what is this rice thing? I don't know.
You never know with kids too. They might mess with the experiment.
Say
a negative thing to the positive one.
Yeah. That didn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there's truth to it. What we say and the energy that we put into something, it matters. And so that's what Reiki is all about, energy work in general, whether you practice Reiki or any other energy work. There's angel light healing, there's Lao Chi energy, there's a lot of different types. So it's, it's important. And especially when you talk about blessing the things that you put into your body, that's important too, because when you even when you go to a restaurant, it's always important to know that the person cooking the food really likes their job, because then love is going into that food. And so it's important.
Yeah, and I think so people, the idea of blessing this food and that's kind of maybe taken up on a religious tone, but I think in our culture, but honestly, there's a purpose for that.
Mhm.
Like we knew this, before it just became simply sort of a ritual or a nice thing to do. But there is, I think, if you look back and if you were to draw the line, there is a purpose for that. So the chirp nectar, which is delicious, by the way. So this is one of the products that you created. Tell us about that.
Yeah, this is our most recent innovation, and actually, I would say it's probably our most exciting thing that we've ever done, honestly. So this is something that is really unique. See, that's what I was looking for, That was very satisfying. But yeah, so terpenes. So terp it's a word that is short for terpenes. It's just a slang word, and it's used in the hemp space a lot. But terpenes are the building blocks of essential oils. So a lot of people know what essential oils are and aromatherapy, right? So the effects are based on aromatherapy because they shift your mood without being intoxicating. So that's the idea. It's like a mocktail.
Interesting.
And the terpenes are from different varieties of hemp. So each strain or cultivar of hemp will have totally different flavor profile, different terpenes. And that's not only the flavor, but also the effect. So basically, our formulas have different strain specific terpene profiles, and that's going to determine not only the flavor, but the effect. So the one you have is Relax and Chill. And that one is like fruit forward with some brown sugar and lemon, and actually some pine and cedar in there.
I can almost can you taste all those flavors?
Oh yeah,
okay.
Sure.
Yeah,
Very complex, like wine,
because we had some. Cara is a little allergic to the pine.
Yeah, I have to take it slow on the pine, the white pine.
But I now know what pine tastes like because we did some pine tea.
We made tea. My uncle collected. He had so many white pine needles and he kind of divvied them up because we heard about how amazing that was, and so I put them in the teapot with the little diffuser thing in the center, boiled the water, and we drank the tea, and it's really delicious. Yeah. I can taste that in here for sure.
It is.
It is delicious.
So all that is, it's not just like a mix where it's good stuff in there. You can actually taste all of it.
And the flavor is just the hemp terpenes. That's something that, that's why it's so unique. It's the first of its kind. It's not, a little bit of lemon, a little bit of this. Like it's just a pure hemp terpene profile. So it's just really complex and has a lot of character to it. The other flavor is a totally different vibe. It's Creative Bliss. And that one is grapefruit with fresh rosemary and like floral undertones. And it's more like uplifting.
So tell me about the hemp a little bit more, in the sense that so we covered CBD a little bit. So now hemp, for a long time was like, oh, hemp, it's not. I remember, gosh, how long ago it was like Woody Harrelson was talking about hemp and everything, and it wasn't like legal, or it was half legal or whatever. But I mean, what's the deal with hemp? And I always looked at all of this stuff and wondered, like, why in the world was this so controversial? This stuff. It's some of the most natural stuff. But anyway, so tell me about hemp a little bit.
You want to go?
You're a perfect person to handle.
I can give like a serious history lesson. It actually started like there's a guy named Harry Anslinger, and he was the director of the FBI at the time, and don't know the dates exactly, but it was very early. I think it was the 20s or the 1910s. And basically it was actually used for racial purposes. Like it was a popular pastime for Latinos and stuff like that. And they were looking for ways to like criminalize their behavior and just, give them a hard time. And also like jazz musicians, they also serve that purpose for that whole scene. So it really came from that place, and like it had no basis in the reality of it being dangerous. It was really just, these people that we don't like are doing something, so we're going to make it illegal, and it's going to become a problem for them, and it gives us control. over their lives.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely a sad story. And that's why, you know, the whole industry right now talks a lot about social equity and economic empowerment and things for, you know, these populations that have been disproportionately harmed by the prohibition. Because
How's that going?
I mean, you know, I wish it was going better. I mean, you
Yeah.
know, depending on the state, some are doing a little bit better, but yeah, it's unfortunately when things go through the political process, a lot of the times they end up you know, with that political kind of flavor to them, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not exactly what the people would have wanted, but
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I do have hope that our industry, you know, is kind of run by the people who care about it, especially the people who started, you know, the whole advocacy in a lot of the first businesses. So I think, you know, I think we have a good direction that we're heading in. We'll keep the fight up.
Yeah.
That's for
You know,
sure.
it's interesting because I mean, it was so. I mean, the demand was so high in the beginning, but I also assume that the production was very high. You know, of these products. I mean, I guess is the best way to describe it. I mean, how has the market shifted over time? Since I
So
mean, you know, we're talking about what, 5 years or something?
yeah, like
7 years.
5 years, 7 years. We've been doing it since 2017, and I think the landscape's changed a lot. I mean, when we started, we couldn't even have payment processing. You know, we had a really hard time even accepting credit cards and things. So in a lot of ways, things have gotten easier, and there's definitely the most product on the market right now than there ever has been. And I think that's good for consumers. It gives them a lot of choice, and allows, I think it gives them the upper hand because,
Yeah.
you know, they have all these options.
So the prices are
Yeah.
more reasonable because of the, you know, supply and demand.
Yeah, the
definitely.
prices have come down a lot. I
Mhm.
mean, they started out, you know, easily over $100 for a small 1 ounce bottle, and now, you know, I've seen them as low as $30.
But then again, how's that as a business? But yeah, I mean, but at the same time, I mean, maybe your cost
Yeah.
is lower on the front end.
So really, like you said, it's supply and demand. So in 2017, when we started, you know, it was kind of the beginning and people started seeing how much hemp was going to be worth. I'd say around 2018, 19, things peaked and people were like, there was a lot of hemp on the market, and that's when the price really crashed. And I don't think consumers really saw that until recently. Like it took a few years for that to trickle down, you know. I think a lot of the companies, they weren't sure how long, well, you know, is this going to last? Like, we can't drop your prices if, you know, that supply doesn't last, if it's only 1 year. Because, like, keep in mind, hemp is an annual crop. So every year you get one crop. It's not, you know, unless you're doing like light deprivation or some kind of indoor controlled grow, it's an annual crop. So at scale, when you're doing agricultural production, it's going to be, you know, once a year.
Doing business with your significant other. So, you know, Cara and I, we're venturing, we're like half doing it.
Yeah.
Because, you know, Cara's still the full-time teacher, but you know, we're going to get there.
We're merging.
We're slowly fully merging in the business side of things. But you've been doing it for 7 years. You've been together for obviously longer. What is that like? I know you have dogs. Oh
yeah.
And I'm sure they keep you in line as far as that goes. But what's it like?
I'll let you start on this one.
We've had to get really good at communication and boundaries to make it work. It's, you know, the struggles that come with work, you can't let them pour over into personal life. Having dogs definitely helps, I have to say. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But I mean, it's great. There's definitely some benefits to it. When we want to take a vacation, you know, sometimes it's hard because both of us are leaving. So the business is like, who's going to run it? But at the same time, we don't have to coordinate between 2 different jobs. So that's awesome. But yeah, I think the biggest thing comes down to we've had to learn how to kind of like support each other through like what we're good at in the business and what we're not good at. So like he does things that I'm not good at and vice versa. And that's been something that's really helped us.
Now, what are the things that you're good at?
So I'm more of like a creative person, and like for example, he hates doing tax. He's good at numbers, but he can't, like, taxes is like it's too much for him. I don't mind taxes, so that's like a good
Okay.
trade-off.
Oh, that's quite the
Yeah. And he's like really good at like demoing and like doing table stuff, and that kind of drains my energy. So
Interesting.
there's things that we kind of pass off to each other.
It's interesting because now when you're demoing, you're talking about like having all your products on a table, like at like some event or and so, but everything is online, right?
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
you don't have a physical. Do you have a physical storefront or no?
No, we don't have
Okay.
physical storefront. So our only like storefront is online, but we do love doing pop-ups. We do all kinds, like um, we've done like festivals, we've done pop-ups just like at businesses, like one-off kind of things. We're planning a bunch for the summer, especially with the Terp Nectar. That's a whole different kind of pop-up, you know. So yeah, we're really excited to start doing.
Yeah, because there's something to be said for the physical. I mean, you there explaining about your product and having the product in your hand.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that that's a big, you probably do very well at those types of events.
And I think, I mean, really all of our products, it's kind of nothing sells it better than trying it.
Yeah.
So, especially Terp Nectar, like I could explain the tasting notes to you, but it's kind of like wine. Like you can read those tasting notes, but like might interpret them totally differently. So until you try it for yourself, you really don't have like a full understanding. The CBD is a little different because you can try a different kind of CBD and maybe it works similarly. But yeah, the terps are totally different.
Yeah. And this is it's interesting because when you open it, you can immediately, it's like aromatherapy, and you're just like,
it is.
Yeah.
Like just sitting here, you can smell it, and it's like having like a diffuser or something with the essential oil. It just smells good.
It is.
This really is relaxing.
I'm
like
relaxed.
It's next to me.
I've tasted it.
Yeah.
I've smelled it.
Yeah.
It's great. How different is your business today than it was 7 years ago?
We started in our kitchen, actually.
Yeah, we started in our kitchen, and all
year.
of our profits went into like building a production like facility like on our property.
Okay.
And not only that, I guess before COVID, we went from like 70% wholesale and 30% retail online, and now that's pretty much completely the opposite.
Okay.
What
So
else
you
is
were
that?
doing a lot of selling to other
Stores.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, we had a good presence in like multiple states, and now the wholesale is pretty limited to Vermont, but the retail, the customers that were buying it out of state, now they're just buying it online. It's not like they stopped buying; we're just not selling it at the stores locally anymore, and that just comes down to like buyer preferences and things shifting with the pandemic, honestly.
A lot of people are buying more online.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's been some huge supplement companies that have been around for decades too that have entered in the game around 2020. We don't have the dollars to compete with their marketing budget, as a lot of small companies don't. So it's been hard to compete with them as well.
So, I mean, that's got to be definitely a challenge, because that's something that an analyst would say, oh, well, this is the maturation of the market. But what it is, to me, is it sucks, because it's kind of, these big guys who have all the resources. Doesn't mean they're good at it, but they're just so big they can just kind of swallow up a chunk of the market. So how do you compete with that?
I mean, our thing has been not to compete, it's
Yeah.
really to innovate. Because being a small company, like for instance, a good example is, CBG, I feel like is trending right now. And that's something we got into, I think it was 2020 or even through 2021. Like we have a blog on our website, like what is CBG and why is it unique compared to.
So what is CBG?
So it's a different cannabinoid in hemp, but it's I find it extremely interesting because it interacts with both the CB1 and CB2 receptors, whereas CBD is only the CB2. So this one has a broader amount of benefits, and it also, because the CB1 is in your brain and spine, helps with brain and spine inflammation specifically. It was looked at also for like traumatic brain injury.
No kidding.
And also mood. So it was looked at, I saw a patent application by a pharmaceutical company for an antidepressant using CBG. So it's really effective for mood, anxiety, and yeah, so I really thought when it first came out that hemp growers and manufacturers were trying to make more money because the price had gone down. So, oh, let's just make, what's the CBG? And when I actually looked into it, I was like, wow, this, there's a lot of unique benefits to this. And they're not just trying, we're not just hopping on the next new thing. Like, we made sure that this is legit and there's a reason to put it in our formulations. And we find it's great for like daytime focus and like pain.
How many products do you have? Because I think did you say you trimmed it down a little bit?
We did. We used to, in the beginning, as I mentioned, like things were a lot more expensive. So we had a wide range of strengths because that was the only way to kind of control the price. So we had like lower strengths that were much cheaper. And now we've kind of narrowed it down. We just have a CBN formula, a CBG formula, and a couple straight up CBD formulas. So yeah, we've narrowed it down a lot, but they're all kind of made for a specific function. And we actually have formulas that are completely THC free, which means that there's no trace of any THC. You could pass a drug test. Like, we have EMTs and police officers that use it, truck drivers, but then full spectrum CBD means that there's a trace amount. It's up to 0.3%. So it's like a non-alcoholic beer, but that definitely is enough to be a concern if you have to pass a test or something. So, it's, and it does add a little bit to the effect as well. Like, that's why we make both formulas. The full spectrum tends to be better for like sleep and pain, whereas the other ones are better for like daytime and like focus.
Wow. And as far as like dealing with the regulations, now you're in Vermont, but you obviously distribute beyond Vermont. So what is that like? Who do you have to deal with as far as a regulatory, or is there any?
So it's pretty crazy. So there's a federal hemp bill that regulates hemp, but it's really just the growing of hemp and how much THC is in products. Other than that, there's really no regulation, but for a period of time, Vermont had its own state program, which we had our own, we had a license with them. They actually did come and test products to verify that the potency was what's on the label, which I think is great. Like I think that's a great model, is to have like state programs that there's some kind of oversight just to make sure that people aren't doing crazy things. But as soon as Vermont legalized cannabis completely, the hemp market got thrown out the window. They're like, oh, just go talk to the feds again. And so we're in a unique position because we don't grow, we only formulate products. So we're just kind of back to like not having much oversight, because Vermont state was doing that, and the feds only come to inspect like the fields and the plants themselves. They don't check out products at all.
That's so interesting.
Well, because I guess the reason is because it's under the Agency of Agriculture that they do the hemp, like they check out plants and stuff, but the FDA is what regulates products, and like it is not FDA approved. That is
right.
They've actually said you can't put it in food and beverages, even though you see all kinds of beverages and stuff. But that's why, like New Hampshire, for instance, like technically that state, you can't sell food and beverages with CBD, but tinctures and gummies are considered supplements.
Interesting.
So they're like, it was wild when we wanted to have a food processing license. Like we wanted a license for a commercial kitchen for our facility. And they were like, oh, well, you're not making food.
Mm.
And I was like, okay, but we have stores, like we're selling a significant amount of product and they want us to have a, you know, a licensed kitchen or something to show them that it's clean and certified. And so I was like, how do we get you to come out here to inspect our, you know? And I think what ended up happening, we were making truffles, like chocolate truffles with CBD, like twice a year. And he's like, oh, you make chocolate? I'll be right there. Like, and I was like, okay, like it was the weirdest thing. Like I had to like beg them to come inspect our building. It was like
that is bizarre.
They're like, oh, take just the oil and stuff. I'm like, yeah, but people are eating it.
It's crazy because you look at some of the products that are on the market and they're so bad. And they're like, I don't know.
And people think if it's on the shelf, that it's safe.
Yeah.
That's the terrifying
like all the energy drinks. And I mean,
we're going outside of the
just
CBD
in general.
And everything. In general. Well, I mean, that's the thing.
It's on the shelf, it's good.
Oh, and well, and that's, you know, so I maybe that's good, bad, or indifferent for your industry, but I mean, I look at it and there's so much that is available in the US compared to say Europe. I mean, there's all kinds
and we've talked about that like so many times. Just, I mean, there's like 25, it could even be more now, 2,500 chemicals that are approved in the United States that are not approved in like Europe.
They're banned in Europe. They're banned. So I guess I mean, it would be kind of strange for the FDA to come on hard against hemp and CBD products when they allow the crap that's on the shelves with all the chemicals that they do allow as well. So, you know, at least they're letting some of the good stuff in. But then on the same token, of course, there's the quality factor. So because you're in a market where the quality factor can be a great range, so they probably don't oversee that much either.
No, and I'd say like the way the consumers can kind of look out for that kind of stuff is look for laboratory tests. Like if you have a reputable product, there's like a QR code usually on the label that you can scan and it will take you right to their site and you can see test results. If you don't see any test results, that's extremely suspicious. And you just have no idea what's in there at that point.
I have the app on my phone.
Yeah.
I just recently.
That's for any so you can
you scan it. You scan the barcode.
The barcode.
Yeah.
But that's for anything. That's not just for the
It's for anything.
Because you don't have a barcode.
We have a specific QR code.
We've got a QR code.
Yeah.
So what he's saying is so if the hemp seller doesn't have some sort of lab.
I got you.
So now, how does that work for you? Like, how did you get it checked? Do you have
the lab? Extra cost for us, and like because there's no regulation, like no one's checking. But like that is why. Actually, it's funny when we first started, we were like marketing. Ours is lab tested twice because we would buy the extract, the hemp extract, and it was tested. But then we would formulate with it and test the product. And so we were, you know, it's funny how looking back, we're like, oh, lab tested twice. And now like, it's funny that, I don't know, people just, the amount of people that click on our lab tests is scary. Like not many people do.
Yeah.
Like, no, like I'm always like, I think it's just us.
Yeah. No, like seriously.
Like, is the link working?
It makes you feel good.
Yeah.
I'm like, no we're trying to do things correctly.
But you should look.
You should look.
Yeah.
We encourage people to look.
Yeah.
For sure.
Wow. That is, and that people put again, I mean, there's a whole lot of trust that when it's on a shelf somewhere, or even if you buy it online. And wow, that is interesting.
The test will not only tell you like potency, but a good lab test will also have like pesticide results, heavy metals, and even residual solvents, depending on how that was processed. So
well, that's good to know.
Yeah. Also important too, because there's some companies that will use deceptive wording on their packaging. So like specifically I've seen a lot in like the beauty industry. Well, they'll say there is hemp in here, but it's actually just hemp seed oil. Hemp seed oil does not have any actual active ingredient in it. So if you see that, you should really be looking at the test results, because they'll upcharge crazy amounts on these products because they say that there's an active ingredient in there and there's actually not.
Wow.
Yeah, that's good to know.
Yeah. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
And it's fun. To your
Yeah.
point, though, it's funny that the other reason they do that isn't to avoid being shadow banned and things. So like some of these companies, like you put that on the label, sometimes it's intentionally deceptive, no
Mhm.
doubt, but sometimes it's because they want to sell their stuff like on fair marketplace or something like
Right.
that, where like they'll allow hemp oil.
Mhm.
But if you have, if it's worded as something else, they will not let you. So it's definitely, I mean, it just goes to show like how challenging the industry is. Like it's
got to
for
be
sure.
educated as a consumer.
yeah.
Yeah.
A lot to sort out.
It really is.
So,
Yeah.
well, I know that you're going to be heading out and going to Boston tonight. Is that
Yep.
what's happening?
Yep.
So,
Heading for a flight.
headed
Yeah.
for a flight. So, so are you going to a convention or something, or
Actually going to for like a yoga retreat for a few
nice?
days.
Nice.
Yeah,
That's
a lot of
awesome.
meditation, a little reset before spring and summer
Yeah.
hit hard. 'Cause we have
Man.
a lot of events, so we gotta
Awesome.
get centered.
Mm-hmm.
They've got the life. Cara.
Yeah.
This is the life. We're gonna get there. Once Cara's retired, we're
Yeah.
gonna go yoga retreats.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
I did say that to you.
You did say that?
Yeah, we need to
What
go.
did you say?
We need to go to somewhere
Say-
together and do some
Yoga-ish.
meditation and yoga and
meditation.
get a massage maybe.
You ever been on one of those silent retreats?
I haven't. I've wanted to, but I haven't yet.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's on the list.
One of our friends did that. Can you
Yeah,
imagine that?
that'd be hard.
Like being
Challenging.
going for a week
Yeah.
and just like not saying anything to
Yeah.
anybody.
That would be hard.
But
I talk all day long at my job.
I do too. You probably have the easiest time.
I mean, I feel like it would definitely do something to my mind. Like I would like stress out. I'd be like, no one's talking to me. Like, why? The Leo and me would not be happy. So
Yeah.
Well, Andrew and Rachel, a great pleasure meeting you and having this conversation. Your business is amazing, great website, and obviously your operation has seen some great success. So, we hope that you'll get some.
And here on the blend, we love these products because it helps with reducing our stress levels and
absolutely. Thank you so much.
yeah,
Thanks
good
for
to
having
see you
us.
guys. I'll see you
thank
soon.
you guys. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
We'll definitely be seeing you soon. So, everyone, have a great night, and we'll see you next week.
Night.
Now you know